you have seen some of this before. Some of this is brand new, but we thought it'd be good to kind of step back and reintroduce ourselves. My name's Katie Booty. I'm the founder and CEO of LeanLab Education. My background is I grew up here in Kansas City and was raised by community organizers, kind of this deep belief in the power of community and those folks impacted by typically unjust systems, education being one of them. And then taught, I was a middle school math teacher in Kansas City Public Schools at CA Franklin, which closed in 2010, and then was a founding teacher at Alta Vista now. Is it middle school also Guadalupe? It's never going to stick with me, but Guadalupe Middle School, formerly Alta Vista Middle School, was an instructional coach there before jumping ship and founding LeanLab. And really the impetus of that was this like kind of two-part problem that I was struggling with. One, that there wasn't a clear way for those most impacted by education, parents, students, and teachers, to really inform how things happen in classrooms. And two, our world was rapidly evolving in ways that we just couldn't keep up with in the classroom. It just was, and now I think that's only compounded these last 2 years. I feel like it's a problem that wakes me up in the middle of the night that like our kids, what are they going to be dealing with now? There's climate, there's politics, there's so many things that are compounding, and oftentimes we find ourselves as educators still with tools that are a century old. So I felt compelled to jump ship and say, and through lots of iterations, as Katie can attest to, of our organization, to say like, how do we create a framework where we can create cutting edge solutions for children and scale them throughout the world, starting first though now through the Midwest in our little corner, which is Colorado. But that's where we started. And the big vision was we envision a world where all children are prepared not to just kind of stumble into the future, but to truly thrive. And then the mission is we launch those innovations that can prepare them, and hopefully they scale. We do that in our pilot schools, and hopefully with intent they scale beyond. So we've been at this for the last 5 years. This is our 6th year, and like Katie said, it started with like really started like a borrowed science lab at Alta Vista High School and permission to use their copy machine, and like a 4-week grace period where we could steal our kind of crazy teacher friends, Katie being one, and being like, let's just start like hacking apart the school system and think about what could be possible if there weren't constraints. And as time has evolved, we've now had to have a pretty successful fellowship program. We attract entrepreneurs from all over the country, now the world. They come to Kansas City, they incubate for now 4 to 6 months, new solutions. But the problem was, even when the solutions are really, really great, we realized they weren't spreading throughout our own region schools. They were kind of ping-ponging around. Like Blue Valley might have a really exceptional way that they're adopting a certain transportation solution, and maybe it makes it over to Seaman, Kansas. Maybe it makes it over, this is a real world example, maybe it makes it over to North Carolina or wherever else. But there wasn't a way for those to really saturate the kids that need it most throughout our region. So we thought, well, man, we missed the mark here. We need to back up and then find a way to reorganize our school systems and our radical educators that are still in the system, and give them an opportunity to try these new solutions and then share their learnings across very diverse backgrounds. So there's some intentionality that we have AFIA, Blue Valley, Excelsior Springs, etc., the KCPS, all at the same table. Like, how do we pull people from really diverse backgrounds and get them to share? So, and to give you some idea of the magnitude of the problem, Missouri alone has 567 school districts. Kansas has 309. Colorado, you're a little better off. You're like 178 or something like that. Because we're a little bit ahead. Like, that's crazy. How do we not do that? Because what happens here is we have so much redundancies, and we have so many well-intentioned educators working in silos, right? And maybe probably unintentionally reinventing the wheel, or worse, when they're doing something really exceptional, it's really hard to share that learning. So we thought, how do we take this really fractured landscape? In Kansas City, it's especially intense. We have 78 different school systems just in the KC metro area, if you group in Kansas, and create the infrastructure that connects them so that they can share these learnings. So that's really where we're kind of brings us to today. Again, though, I was raised by community organizers who ruined me for better or worse. And we always relying on this core thesis, still that we believe that those closest to education, parents, students, teachers, should be the ones that are informing the way the future occurs. So again, there's intentionality that you are here today, not your system level leaders. We asked for their permission. You're all here under their grace. We're not totally pulling a bait and switch, but you are the one that we're extending the power to inform how these solutions are created. So I'll give you the high level of our theory of change. I'll pass it off to David, who's going to give you the details of how this is all working, and then I'll pass back off to Katie to actually get going. So, first things first, on our theory of change, we believe, Katie referenced this, we shouldn't ever create solutions kind of in an isolated vacuum, that we should really understand what the needs are in our landscape, which is why you guys all opened with that tonight. And then coordinate them. So already there's some connections. If we have a lot of people thinking about social emotional learning, that that's what's keeping you up at night, but you didn't realize maybe that Blue Valley has similar issues to Colorado, and how can we connect you two to make a better solution? We want to figure that out now. So understand school network needs is where we're starting. 2, and then also on the other side of that, before I go on to do 2, is like what system level leaders are already kind of thinking about this, that once you do crack the nut, it's ready to say, hey, let's scale this district-wide or system-wide. 2, validating solutions in authentic classrooms. So you've identified problems. Some of these might already have solutions, and we can just connect you and say, hey, go sit in Tammy's classroom. She's already figured it out, whatever, problem solved.
No,
What we are finding though is that given the nature and the complexity of the solutions that you guys are all here tonight, there's a need for innovation. So our innovation team, which Rohan and Stephanie are on, you'll meet Stephanie tomorrow, have recruited entrepreneurs from all over the world. There are 126 applicants for this year's program to come in and work hand in hand with our pilot school partners and a researcher to validate if that solution actually solves your problem in a research-backed way. So that's going to happen. David will give you more context to that. And then finally, number 3 is then activate the scale. So if you do end up on a breakthrough solution, if you're like, holy crap, this is amazing, every educator should have this in their hands. Our goal is then to get all of the system level leaders, all of our regional partners back together and share those learnings. Conversely, if it didn't go so great, but the learning you experienced wasn't valuable, like I want everyone to know never to do, probably all teachers probably have the experience, like to never do that, do now again. Do not put the half-baked thing up in front of your 8th grade class after lunch. Like, don't do it. Like, you can fail forward. We want to have those learnings as well so that we can contribute to the body of work in the field. So that's it for our theory of change. I'm going to pass it off to David Muhammad, who's going to walk you through exactly what this is going to mean in your context over the next 6 months.
All right, thank you. How's everybody doing?
Good.
This is kind of, I have to step back for a moment because this is pretty dope. I'm the one who's been hounding all of you. So talking to you on the phone, sending emails, and just to see it matriculate into this moment is like, yeah, this is what's up. But yeah, just to give a little context about myself and what I do with Lean Lab, I'm the manager for collaborative partnerships. So my focus is on the community role, right? Building that network of awesome teachers and schools that have a vision of trying to better what we all have issues with. And I spent 11 years as a teacher. So I taught in the Shawnee Mission School District, both middle school and high school level, and recently stepped out for various reasons, but still want to remain in education. And along with that, me and my father run a karate school, which was really built off of community advocacy. And so that's just something that I grew up doing here in KC, and I'm glad to be a part of this team. So thank y'all for being here. It means more than you can know. But to get to more of a granular level of what Katie was discussing with our visionary network, the idea is to flip the model, right? Like if for those of you all in education, you notice that most of the time it's top-down decisions made, right? So the superintendent, the district decides that they're gonna go 1-for-1, right, Taylor? Like we're both in Shawnee Mission. But there's no buy-in by the students or the teachers. There's no communication to say, this is how it's gonna roll out, or what do you think? How can we make this actually work? What's the proof of concept, right? And so those most affected by the big changes have the least voice in the room, right? And so we're trying to flip that model with Lean Lab to empower you as the community that is most affected by what's going on. And so as Katie mentioned, our process here of how we're going to work, so first we're going to surface those problems. So today and tomorrow will be you creating your problem of practice. So you've already highlighted some pain points, but we want to get very clear. What is your actual problem of practice? What is the issue that you want to address that we could possibly find a solution for? Because as educators, we're dreamers, right? It's really easy to have like these grandiose ideas, or just kind of have this like, I know what it is, but if you had to explain it, you really couldn't. But we make it work, right? We close the room and we figure it out, right? So let's have a really clear problem of practice, and that's what the whole design thinking process is for. From there, the next step will be match day. And so with match day, that's where you will select which fellow you want to work with, right? So again, not being told, hey, this is your problem of practice, this is who you need to work with. We're going to work from there after we get your problems of practice to decide, okay, here are some candidates that have really awesome solutions, but you still have the power to choose who you want to work with. And so that's what match day is going to be about, where we're going to try to see those solutions, and then from there it'll go into the 6-month mini study where you'll actually validate it. Like, does it work? Along with the researcher that we're hiring, and then of course yourself as the classroom teacher and the fellow, you'll be working together to try to figure out, does this actually work? And that information not only is important for you and your school, but also for the fellow, right? If they're taking it serious, this is an awesome opportunity for them to have a great soundboard, right? And take that back and better their product. So even though we're gonna, on scale day say, hey, don't use this, I'm sure it won't be that harsh, I hope not, right? But the idea is that this will be some learning for them as well. But with scaling it, not only letting it spread to those in the network, but hopefully that be something that continues to grow, as I'll talk about here in a second. So the last step of that will be taking it to our community that we're trying to build, that you are a part of, and expressing, okay, this is what we are, this is what we learned from this 6-month mini study, and this is what positives came out of it, and possibly that's how it could spread to different networks. Okay? Moving forward. All right, and so that doesn't happen, that scaling doesn't happen without the network. And so we created, as you guys remember in the first email I sent you of mini, right, that we have 2 sections of our Visionary School Network. And so for those who are not quite ready to pilot a program, not quite ready to necessarily see the innovation come into their space for whatever reasons, they'll be joining our network. And we had about 31 applicants who joined total from 18 different systems. So we say systems because some of those are districts, charter schools, and then we also had some really unique environments like Operation Breakthrough, STEAM Studios, all join our network. And so the idea of that is that they can learn from the pilot school partners and the innovations that they're going to be piloting, but also potentially be in a space to say, okay, well, we're kind of like a shoulder buddy. We weren't wanting to pilot it yet, but what we learned from Scale Day, maybe now we want to buy that or purchase that for our district. So learning from the experience that you have, because again, your experience is going to be the proof to scale, right? And then that could potentially influence those fellows for future references. And so even from that, we've already utilized some of the networks. So as you'll see and hear about more, our fellowship process is pretty stringent, right? So the same process you went through, theirs is very thorough, where we've utilized some what we call field experts to see if they actually were worth working with. So we started with 126. By the end of the week, we'll be down to 30 before you guys get to select. And then for the pilot school partners, you'll be actually bringing that innovation into your classroom. You're going to work directly with the entrepreneur and the researcher to make sure that not only, hey, I know the students like this, it's a really cool concept, but did it actually work? So whatever your problem of practice is, and I can speak to that as a teacher, right? Like, I had some really cool moments in my classroom that I thought the kids had a lot of fun and everybody left feeling good, but my test scores didn't change. Like, did they actually learn, right? And so, excuse me, that's the goal there. And then of course, we want to honor your time. And so if you are one that's going to pilot, we're going to pay you $2,500, which is dope, right? Because for me as an educator, I mean, and all of you in here probably got the same experience where you become like the utilized, tokenized rock star teacher at your school that like gets volunteered for everything, but there's never any compensation for it. And then as you of course have like a family and like a life outside of things, and then maybe you coach, you're like, okay, where's this gonna fit in, right? Like, realistically. So we all know that you have the right intentions, but at the same time, your time matters, right? And so we want to honor that with paying you. Right? And so, like I said, your guys' process is very stringent, but so is that of the K-12 fellowship. So our fellows go through a pretty rigorous process for those who are selected. Of course, you have the school partnership that'll be happening at the match day, where you'll be actually interviewing different fellows, and the ones you select will be matched up. From there, we'll start the 6-month mini study, where there'll be actual implementation with you and the researcher. But along with that, one thing we believe in at Lean Lab is continual growth. And so even though a lot of these fellows have products that are very proven, some of them have raised quite a bit of money already in capital, we believe in continued education because now they're piloting with the school, and some of them haven't done that yet. And so we are matching them with a mentor that we've developed a relationship with. Some of these mentors are throughout the country that fit the space of whatever their entrepreneurship is. And so they'll go through a mentor study program along with the fellowship. And then that also ties into the curriculum that we've vetted throughout the last years. So this is not our first fellowship. This is actually going to be our 6th, but in the past, as you can see, we've had quite a bit of success with our fellows. So, you know, not to like toot our own horn, but like this ain't no run-of-the-mill fellowship. You know what I'm saying? They've been pretty dope. They've raised money, of course, and created jobs, impacted actual students. So not just a cool tool that doesn't actually impact students. Nearly 2 million students have been impacted here in KC as well, having an impact, and we're wanting to grow that. That's one thing that we're recognizing is that here in the greater Kansas City area, when we say greater Kansas City, we mean the entire network. We want to make sure it's bringing it home. So these fellows aren't just flying in and leaving out. Like they have a commitment to what we're doing here and in Colorado. You feel me? I'm not gonna forget about you. And then along with that, we believe in equity, right? And so those who are our entrepreneurs we work with, we're very, very clear about making sure that we have a diverse network to work with, not only as the educators, but also as the fellows. Okay, so again, you can see the demographics there. All right, and so coming back to this, as Katie mentioned, this is where you come in. The fragmented nature of our schools is something that we want to bring together. And so we were very intentional about who we went after for pilot schools. So when I was calling y'all and emailing you, some of you I hit up on Facebook, LinkedIn. I was a creeper for like a good month and a half. But that's Katie's fault in the back, all right? But this is my job, okay? So I reached out to all of you because we looked at, okay, here's our networks. So in the American school landscape, a lot of times innovations and entrepreneurship hits one target area. It's either like, okay, we're gonna only focus on urban core, right? Or the suburban wealthy school districts like where I taught at in Shawnee Mission, they get all the shiny new stuff. Right? But there's not a discussion about, well, what about the entire network and how do those issues relate across the table? And so literally you at a table, right? I think what we'll see, especially tomorrow, as you go through the process of your problem of practice, you'll start to hear common problems, right? And so what's great about this is you can have a teacher from Excelsior Springs find commonality with a KCPS or a charter school here in KC, or the fact that like, low key, there used to be beef around like public schools and charter schools, but now you're sitting together and recognizing we have a lot in common here, okay? And then from there, hopefully, as a cohort, you become like this badass team that can like call upon each other. Not like a sorority or a frat. We don't want to go that deep. More like a squad. Yeah, like a squad, right? So we're gonna be a squad that can call upon each other and support each other in the future. But that's the goal, to kind of reduce that fragmentation. So are y'all with that? Am I hyping you up yet? Yeah. All right, so getting very real with it, this is our promise. We are guaranteeing that we're going to have 6 to 10 pilot matches. Okay, and so we do not want to waste your time. Okay, when you go through tomorrow, you're going to develop 1 to 2 problems of practices very clear. Then from there, it becomes our job to see if we actually have probable solutions available. And so out of the fellows that we've dwindled down to now, I think we're around 59. We're gonna look through those and see, do we actually have some candidates in those categories that can meet the need that you're trying to address? Now, side note, we recognize that there's no one innovation that's gonna fix any problem. There's no like, oh, bam, that fixed it. If that was the case, then this would be a lot easier, right? But we recognize that a lot of times these solutions can be part of a bigger fix, right? And so if we cannot find a solution for your problem of practice, then we are also guaranteeing that we're going to have a follow-up and action plan for you to try to go forward. So we are committed to you long-term. but we also are not going to stand up here and say, hey, we're going to we have a solution in the bank for everybody. Either way, you are a part of this cohort, you're a part of this pilot network, whether that means that coming this fall, we'll have a solution for you to pilot in your classroom, or maybe at a future date, or we set up some kind of private, or not, I don't want to say private, not a separate room or anything like that, but after August 2nd, after match day, we'll reach out to you and say, okay, well, maybe we need to sit down and look at what we can provide for you to try to work through that problem of practice. Is that clear for everybody? Okay, so we don't want to create any false notions. We want to make sure that it's very clear that we are here committed to you, but we also are not going to make any false promises and say, oh yeah, we guarantee that whatever you come up with tomorrow, which is going to be valid, right? Like whatever your problem of practice that you come up with is, that's yours. Own it, but we're not going to guarantee that we have a solution at the moment or a potential solution. Moving forward. And so what the rest of this timeline is going to look like, this is what you're in right now, so the professional development. So that'll be all day tomorrow as well. I know that there are some of you who won't be able to make it tomorrow. We can talk about that and what that looks like later. And then match day is August 2nd. Really trying to make that a hype day. Like me and my man Rohan in the back, we working on a DJ for y'all. We want to make it a really cool experience. But what I look at it is like, how many chances do you have to feel empowered to make solutions and decisions for your school, right? Like, I can't even think of one time in 11 years where my principal came to me and was like, David, I want you to pick a solution for the entire school. I either had to do it on my own and then hope I didn't get in trouble for it, right? Or like you were part of some like school district network that they brought in and didn't pay you for and didn't even buy you lunch, and then they utilized it and didn't even give you any credit, right? They're like, oh yeah, we have a new strategic plan. Like, who made it though? So, I'm saying. All right, so match day, again, the idea of it is that you will come in, you will be interviewing the different fellows that we feel match or align with the potential, problem of practice that you have, that provide a potential solution. And out of an equity purpose, because some of them are based in KC and some of them are from around the country, and 8 countries actually, they will all be remote. So this will be computers set up. You'll be doing video interviews with them, asking them very specific questions, and then you'll come from that and select. Hopefully you leave there and say, hey, we have an awesome person that we want to work with, and they agree to work with you, and it'll be a match. And that's the idea of that. It'll be a really, really exciting moment. From there, really important to note for the pilot period, this is not the entrepreneur just dropping off their innovation and then seeing you in 6 months. We are making sure that they're committed to Kansas City, committed to this product, committed to Colorado, and whatever they're piloting in your program. So the way this will look is that after match day in September, each one of these sets of time, the innovator will actually be coming into town and being here in KC to spend time with you in your classroom. So this is not time where you're gonna have to come out of your class. I know some of you are worried about that, like, oh, am I gonna take off all these days? We understand the reality of school. You need to be in your classroom piloting, not out, right? And so this will be time where you'll set up with them, being available to work with the researcher, work with the entrepreneur to work on your mini study. Okay, so that'll be in September, November, and January, and then culminating with Scale Day. Once again, an awesome opportunity to be empowered, right? So you get to stand up in front of this community of other badass teachers and say, hey, this is what we found out, right? Or, you know, if it didn't work, this is why it didn't work. And so hopefully we hope that on January 22nd, it's not only a moment of celebration, but also a moment of information and reflection. Okay? And so with that, are there any questions from what I presented? Did that make it clear? Cool. And then lastly, I don't want to, stand up here and just take credit. This is a team. So Lean Lab is an amazing team to be a part of, and it goes beyond myself and Katie Booty. But we also, you'll meet tomorrow, you'll meet Stephanie, who's really been, busting her tail to get amazing fellows in front of you if you do end up piloting. The guy with the dopest beard, I'm not going to introduce him. But then we have Rohan, who just joined us. Rohan, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Hi there, my name's Rohan. I started about 3 weeks ago at the Lean Lab. I'm working with Stephanie on the fellow side, so I've been taking notes on a lot of the pain points that y'all have been talking about. Because as David has mentioned, we're trying to find fellows that are we're trying to find solutions that are going to fit a problem and not the other way around. I taught 7th grade math for 2 years, so I had some experience in the classroom as well. And I'm here at Lean Lab looking to try to make some more systems level change by helping teachers share their best practices with each other.
He's our resident Ivy League guy. He went to Harvard.
All
All
right.
right. I'm just saying, makes us look good, whatever. And Mary's not here, but just know that the comfort that you feel, the food that you're going to eat, all right? You're going to eat some of that food. That was all. Mary puts a lot of the ops together, so she gets here early and just makes sure that everything is in place. She's a lot of times behind the scenes, but I want to make sure I shout her out. And hopefully you'll get to see her tomorrow. And then Alex, the man behind the camera, he's like the world's second most interesting man, if you remember those commercials. But I'll let him talk about it, what he does. And
yeah, I do marketing.
you know what you do.
I do like the writing, visuals, things that make stuff look pretty. I'll be walking around the camera today and tomorrow. Ignore me.
And low key, he's like famous for his music in Finland. I'm not even joking. Like, look up his music. He's on Spotify, but like, yeah.
I think we're gonna all need to do that together in the morning.
Make that happen.
We're gonna start the day with.
We'll put a link up, and you guys will all listen to this. Yeah. So that's the Lean
No, we're
Lab.
on the side of that.
That's the Lean Lab team. Missing from this that will be in place soon is our researcher that we're going to be hiring. And we think that's really important. Like I said, with education, a lot of education solutions, from what I've found, it's about like what feels good and not necessarily always what works, right? So it sounds good to say like 1 for 1, right? Like everybody gets a laptop, they're going to have access to technology. Think about those kids who don't have it at home. Like, yeah, it sounds great. Is it working? Like, is it actually creating a solution, or is it creating more problems? Right, and so that's the point of us hiring a researcher, to hold ourselves accountable. We have these awesome innovators coming in, and piloting these great ideas that have raised lots of money. Okay, but is it working? Are kids actually being helped at the end of the day? And so that's the goal there. And so we'll have to create a little more nugget to fit in the research. All right. So I think at this time we're going to give you guys a quick break before we move
Yeah,
forward.
take a couple minutes, grab some food, grab a drink, and then we're gonna talk about teachers' lounges.
I'm gonna be curious to see like what you and your beautiful building say
Yes.
versus